poems on Thebes and its god. Every region is in terror of thee, thy name is high and mighty and powerful. The Euphrates and the sea are in fear of thee. Thy might is heavy upon the earth, in the islands, in the midst of the sea. The dwellers in Punt come to thee, and God's land is verdant for thee from love of thee. They bring thee perfumes, to make festive thy temple with festal fragrance. Incense-bearing trees drop myrrh for thee, and the perfume of thine aroma penetrateth into thy nose. All costly oils come to thee. Cedar trees are grown for thee, in order to frame thine august bark. Use a het. The mountains yield thee blocks of stone in order to make great the gateways of thy temple. Ships are upon the sea and more, beside the strand, load and voyage before thee. The river floweth downstream, and the north wind, it bloweth upstream, bringing offerings to thee of all that is. The wicked are cast off from Thebes, and then extols it as the mistress of cities, that is stronger than any city. She gave the land to a single lord by her victories, she that took the bow and grasped the arrow. None can fight near her because her strength is so great. Every city extolleth herself in her name. He is their princess, that is mightier than they. The Ened which came forth from none, it assembleth itself, because it beholdeth thee, the great in glory, the Lord of lords, who fashioned himself, the Lord of he is the Lord. Them that had slept, he shineth for them, in order to illumine their faces in another form. His eyes gleam and his ears are opened. All limbs are clad. When his brightness hath come, heaven is of gold, none of lapis lazuli, and the earth is o'erspread with malachite, when he ariseth therein. The gods behold and their temples stand open. Men can see and behold by him. All trees stir at his presence. They turn them towards his eye, and their leaves unfold. The scaly ones leap in the water. All cattle frolic before his countenance. All birds dance with their wings, they know him in his good season. They live because they see him every day. They are in his hand, sealed with his seal, and no God openeth them save his majesty. There is naught that was made without him, the great God, the life of the Ened. More orderly is Thebes than any city. The water and the land were in her in the beginning of time, and the sand came to the tillage, to create her ground upon the highland, and the land came into being. All cities are founded in her real name, and they are named with the name of city. And they are under the supervision of Thebes, the eye of Re. This is followed by a series of poems on the names of Thebes and its divisions. How thou voyagest, Harakti, and doest daily after thy manner of yesterday. Thou who makest the years, and marshallest the months, days and nights are according to his march. Thou art newer today than yesterday. Alone watchful, whose abomination is slumber. All men sleep, but his eyes are wakeful. Who voyageth over the firmament, and passeth through the nether world. The sun on all roads, making his circuit before men's faces. All men turn their faces towards him, and men and gods say, Welcome art thou. It describes how the enemy of the boat of the sun, the Apophis dragon, is slain by the god. The spear sticketh in the foe, who hath fallen by its sharp edge. The ship of millions hath a fair course, The crew shouteth for joy, and their hearts are glad, for the foe of the Lord of all is overthrown. His enemies that were in heaven or on earth are no more. Heaven, Thebes, Heliopolis, and the nether world. Their inhabitants rejoice over their Lord, when they see him powerful in his shining forth, furnished with valor and victory, and mighty in his form. Thou triumphest, O Ammon. The caitiffs are overthrown, repelled by the spear. Chapter 40. The God hath formed himself, and his form is not known. He hath joined his seed with his body, so that his egg existed in his secret self. The Son of heaven, whose rays belong to thy countenance. The Nile floweth from his cavern for thy primordial Godhead, and earth is established for thine image. To thee alone belongeth what causeth to grow. Thy name is strong, thy will is heavy. Mountains of awe cannot withstand thy might. Hawk divine, with outspread wings. Speedy one, who carrieth away his assailant in the completion of an instant. Mysterious lion, loud roaring, he grippeth firm them that come under his claws. A bull for his city, a lion for his people, he who lasheth with his tail him that encroacheth upon him. The earth is moved when he sendeth forth his voice, and all beings are afraid of his might. Great of strength, there is none other that is like unto him. His is Upper Egypt and likewise Lower Egypt, he hath taken them alone in his might. His boundary is strong, upon the earth, as wide as is the whole earth and as high as is the heaven. The gods beg their sustenance from him, and he it is who giveth them bread from his possessions, he, the Lord of fields, banks, and plots of ground. His is every land register. His is the royal cubit, which measureth the blocks of stone. He who extendeth the cord upon there, whereof the two lands are founded, the temples and sanctuaries. Every city is under his shadow, that his heart may walk about where it will. Men sing to him in every chapel, and every place possesseth ever his love. Beer is brewed for him on the day of the festival, and the night is spent in wakefulness, and his name circulateth upon the roofs. His is the singing in the night, when it is dark. The gods receive bread through him, the rich God, who protecteth what is his. He who purgeth away evil and dispelleth sickness, the physician who healeth the eye without remedy, who openeth the eyes and banisheth the squint, who rescueth whom he will, though he be in the nether world, who saveth from fate to the full of his desire. He possesseth eyes and ears likewise, wherever he goeth, for him whom he loveth, that he may hear the petitions of him that calleth to him. Coming from afar in the completion of an instant to him that calleth upon him. He prolongeth life and he shorteneth it also. He giveth to him whom he loveth more than is decreed to him. A water charm is the name of Ammon upon the flood. No crocodile hath power when his name is pronounced. A wind that turneth back the adverse blast, with merry countenance, when he, because he is called to mind. With beneficent mouth in the time of turmoil. A sweet breeze to him that calleth upon him. Preserving the weary. The bright God, excellent of counsels. He belongeth to him that leaneth his back upon him. He is better than millions to him that trusteth in him. One man is stronger by reason of his name than hundreds of thousands. Good protector in very truth. Perfect, seizing his opportunity, and none repelleth him. The 8 gods were thy first form, until thou didst complete this. Thou alone. Mysterious was thy body among the great ones, and thou didst conceal thyself as Ammon at the head of the gods. Thou madest thy mode of being as Tenon, in order to fashion the primordial gods in thy first origin. Thy beauty was extolled as bull of his mother. And thou withhedst thyself as the dweller in heaven, abiding as Re. Thou wast the first to be, when as yet there was naught. The land was not void of thee in the first beginning. All gods that came into existence after thee. The Ened was joined in thy limbs, every god was united with thy body. Thou didst emerge first that thou mightest begin the commencement, O Ammon, whose name is hidden from the gods. Great aged one, older than these. Tenon, who did shape himself as Ta. He then created Shu and Tefnet by spitting, these being the first of the series of actual divinities, and he himself stood forth as ruler of the world, while he appeared upon his throne, according to the dictates of his heart. He ruled over all that was in his, he set in order the kingdom of eternity unto eternity, abiding as sole Lord. His form shone at the first occasion, and all that existed was dumbfounded at his glory. He cackled as the great cackler and brake into speech in the midst of their silence. He opened all eyes and caused them to behold. He began to cry aloud, when the land was still dumbfounded. His roaring spread about, and there was none beside him. He fashioned that which is, and made them live. He caused all men to know the way, in order to go. Their hearts live when they see him. Who came first into being at the first occasion, Ammon, that came into existence in the beginning, and none knoweth his mysterious nature. No god came into being before him, and no other god was with him, that he might have told him his shape. He had no mother, who might have given him his name, and no father, who might have begotten him and have said it is I. He who shaped his egg himself, the mighty one of mysterious birth, who himself created his beauty. The divine God, who came into being of himself, all gods came into being, after he began to be. Of mysterious form and gleaming shape, the wondrous God with many forms. All gods make their boast in him, in order to magnify themselves with his beauty, for he is so divine. Re himself is united with his body, and he is the great one who is in Heliopolis. Tenon is he named, Ammon, who came forth from none. His other form was the Ogdod, the begetter of the primordial gods, who fashioned Re. He completed himself as Adam, being one limb with him. He is the Lord of all, the first to exist, and it is his soul, men say, which is in heaven. He it is who is in the netherworld and who presideth in the east. His soul is in heaven, his body in the west, and his image is in Hermonthis exalting his brightness. One is Ammon, who concealed himself from them, who hid himself from the gods, and his nature is not known. He withdrew himself to heaven and raised himself to the Te, and no gods know his true shape. His image is not spread out in book. He is too mysterious that his glory should be revealed, too great that men should question concerning him, too powerful that he should be known. One falleth down dead on the spot for terror, if his mystery house, unknowable name is pronounced. No god can address him by it, him with the soul, whose name is hidden, for that he is a mystery. Three are all gods Ammon, Re, and Ta, and there is none like them. Hidden is his name as Ammon, Re belongeth to him as face, and Ta is his body. Their cities abide eternally upon earth, Thebes, Heliopolis, and Memphis unto eternity. A message is sent from heaven, it is heard in Heliopolis, it is repeated in Memphis to the fair of face. Our letter is composed in the writing of Thoth to the city of Ammon. The matter is answered in Thebes, and a declaration cometh forth it belongeth to the Ened. Yet another message is sent, it three shall slay and it shall keep alive. Life and death are in it three for all people. Only he is Ammon and Re and Star, together three. Ammon is described as the god of generation, who formed the genitals, the first to impregnate maidens. First he begat himself when he appeared as Re in Nun, and fashioned that which is and that which is not. Father of fathers, mother of mothers, the bull for those four maidens. He who throweth his foes upon their faces, and there is none that can assail him, and his adversaries are not found before him. A glaring lion with raging claws, devouring the might of him that assaileth him in the completion of a moment. A bull firm of back and heavy of hoofs upon the neck of his foe, whose breast he rendeth. A bird of prey, flying and seizing on him that assaileth him, able to shatter his limbs and his bones. The mountains are moved beneath him at the time of his raging. The earth tottereth when he belloweth. All that is trembleth for terror of him. Perception is his heart, and command is his lips. When he entered the two caverns under his feet, the Nile came forth from the grotto beneath his sandals. His soul is Shu, and his heart is Tefnet. He is Harakti, who is in the heaven. His right eye is the day, his left the night. He it is who leadeth mankind to every way. 3. His belly is Nun, and he who is therein is the Nile, giving birth to all things that are, and making to live what existeth. He bloweth breath into every nose. Fate and the harvest goddess are with him for all people. His wife is the field, and he impregnateth her, and his seed is the fruit tree. His effluence is grain. For Atom spake with his mouth and with a loving heart, and the gods rejoiced thereat. They have confirmed that which issued from the mouth of Re. The enemy of Re is burnt to ashes, and everything is given to Thebes, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, heaven and earth, and the nether world, with banks, waters, and mountains, what ocean produceth and the Nile. All that groweth upon the earth God is hers, and all that the sun riseth upon belongeth to her in peace. Every land payeth her tribute as her subject, for she is the eye of Re, whom none repelleth. The point of all this is quite clear after the fall of Memphis, for Thebes is again installed as the capital. One landeth one as a praised one. In Thebes, the region of truth, the place of silence. Impious men enter not into it, the place of truth. How fortunate is he that landeth in it! He becometh a divine soul.